up, guys? I'm Jonathan. I'm going to give you a mock lesson for essentially conceptualizing the beginning of learning how to drum. So, here we go. When it comes to understanding rhythm, the way I like to see it is division, essentially. You take a certain allotted amount of a measurement, and you're simply cutting it into pieces. So, starting with the understanding of a bar. In most music, you have this concept of what's called the give and take, which for drummers, a lot of that consists of the kick and the snare. There's the give and there's the take. It's almost essentially a form of communication between a certain type of instrument. You have that too between instruments and bands as well. So with that, in a lot of music, you have, or in drumming I should say, within one bar, you have essentially a give and a take, consisting of on different parts of these points of division, almost, in a bar. So, in a lot of modern music, a bar of music will typically be divided into four. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that, if you understand that, we have a bar of music and it's divided into 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what this essentially is doing is giving us pointers along the way for which we can add different hits and different instruments. A typical drum beat will sound like this. On the 1 and the 2, the kicks would be on the 1 and the 3, and the snares are on the 2 and the 4. And of course, I'm playing the hi-hat and cymbal in there as well. So when understanding the essential rudiments of drumming, it's first important to know how to start thinking about it. So in other words, you have, going back to the basics of the division, if you have 4 beats to a bar, you're dividing it into quarters. Those are called quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of music, especially in house music these days, you have that 4 on the floor rhythm, which is also known, as a house beat. So, when proceeding further in music, there will be a lot of different combinations of various ways to divide up notes into, or different beats, into different parts along the way. There are eighth notes where you divide it in half even more. So there's 2 beats per each quarter measure as opposed to just 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And along the way we add different names to these so that you can think about them, recall them as you're playing, so that you're keeping track along the way and not losing the rhythm essentially. Of course, you have the metronome, which keeps a tempo, and if you're a good drummer, that is your position essentially, is you're keeping the tempo while offering a solid and consistent beat so that the other members of the band can really stay grounded. I like to think of the drums as the most initial groundwork. It's the concrete of the band. Then you have the bass on top of that, which is it helps add a layer of more melodic glue between the drums and the guitar if you have that typical band setup. And then you have keys and vocals that are just sitting on top of that. But all of these are very important, and I would argue that the role of a drummer in a band is crucial. It's key, it's so fundamental. But anyways, back to the metronome. We have... Now this is a rather fast beat. This is about 130 beats per minute. And as you can hear, there is that different sounding click, which was on what is called the downbeat, or the 1 of every bar. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that 1 is the start of a new bar, if you're thinking about it in quarter notes. So essentially, this sounds like if I'm just playing quarter notes, and I'm keeping track in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. I just played 2 bars, right? So going a little bit further, we can begin to understand how you can meld different, if you keep the tempo, you can then input and add different types of beat divisions along the way. So maybe adding quarter notes and eighth notes. So yeah. So notice that there was twice as many beats per note, essentially. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's because we're essentially doing the act of dividing. We're inserting another beat in an equidistant space so that it adds more character or more flavor, if you'd like. It's just another type of beat. And of course, the variety of different types of beats far extends into playing, of course, 16-note beats, 30-second notes, and then if you've ever seen a marching drum line, they play all these crazy type of licks with they're hitting maybe 2 sticks at the same time, which is known as a flam, or they're playing where the right hand is playing twice as many as the left, and you have these weird sort of paradiddles. So all of these different styles of playing music you can incorporate conceptually when you really understand how the basic layout of a bar of music essentially unfolds. And so what I offer is beginning, intermediate, and advanced drum lessons, starting with the roots, starting with a very grounded and fundamental understanding of how do you start off as a drummer. And it comes from being able to conceptualize drumming. It comes from being able to understand where you would put a beat and why. Where is the emphasis on the notes if you're playing, again, to a song? What type of beat is the song offering? Is it in a rhythm where there's 4 beats to a bar, or are there 3 beats to a bar? Like I said, there's a lot of variety. But starting from the basics, you have essentially understanding quarter notes and eighth notes. These are crucial to understanding rhythm. And if you start from there, you have a very solid understanding of quarter notes and eighth notes, that will put you in a great spot. Just building that foundation, working between different note types, and then expanding there without trying to play some crazy fast metal rhythm where your feet are going crazy and you're sweating and you really don't know what you're doing. That's really how you burn out, and that's how things get really sloppy. When you see really tight drummers, these people have been drilling rudiments left and right, and they've been drilling their understanding and their conceptualization of drumming based on their different patterns that they've known. And then it gets creative after that. And that's the advanced aspect of it, where you start to put different pieces together. What does this beat sound like next to this beat, and why? And what does this beat sound like if I just add a small tinge right here, or if I maybe take this hit differently? And it gets a lot of fun, and the options are endless. And unfortunately, a lot of people just stick to the same beats because they sound good. And I challenge people to create different types of rhythm and really try to explore the boundaries of different styles of rhythm. And then, of course, you have the variety of different drums. And this is the next step in a fundamental drum education is what are each of the drums and what is their role. Here I have a Roland TDK V25. This is my E-drum kit. So this is all electronic. That is my brain right there. We have my mock fake cymbals. Well, they're real cymbals, but they are electronic triggers, of course. I have my hi-hat. And all of this, electronic drums are getting a lot better as far as their quality of sound and how far they're coming and picking up dynamics, which is very important with drumming. So this was a basic overview lesson of how I would start to help students really understand the conceptual approach to sitting down on a drum set, and instead of just jumping right into it, really starting to think about what they're doing and think about how they're going to approach it and what type of different beats go where, and understanding the different roles of each drums, whether it's the toms as fills or as the toms as specific rhythm hits. Understanding the hi-hat and open hi-hats, where to use those, understanding proper times to use crashes and emphasis in the ride, of course, and definitely understanding how the kick and the snare have that give and take and how to use those very intelligently. And then, of course, the dynamic aspect of it, the dynamic aspect of what distance are you going to hit the the kit from? Are you hitting from a completely 90-degree angle? Is it 45? What variation of accent, in other words, are you using in order to create that emphasis, and why for that different type of beat? I hope you've enjoyed this. My name is Jonathan Fredette. I am a drummer. I am a music teacher. I love teaching music. I love helping people get off the ground and going. And I hope to hear from you guys. Thank you.